Hey, this is Sheridan Hansen. I'm here with Richard Homer from Homer's Honey, and he's here going to do a summer hive inspection with us. So he's going to dive right into the same hive that we did in our spring inspection. So go ahead, Richard, and we'll talk our way through this.
So just a reminder, when you're smoking your hive, kind of puff a little bit out in the air, a little bit in the top, down by the door, a little bit over the lid.
You mostly want to just tell the guard bees that you're coming, right?
Yeah, well, and it kind of gets them to find something else to do. So
They're distracted. It's like we're robbing a bank. We're distracting the guards.
So now it's a fire alarm instead of an invader.
And let's see, we put the top box on this hive about a month ago, so there should be some activity up there. Our super there, our honey super.
So let's see how they're doing.
So we want to see honey in this top box, right, Richard?
Yeah, we do. And I get asked all this time, when do I put my honey supers on? Honestly, they should be on by the 1st of June. And if you have a hive that comes through the winter, you may be putting it on the middle of May. But that's when our honey flows are here, is in May and June. If you're waiting till July to put it on, you're probably not going to get much activity up there. But this is the second frame in from the outside, and they've got comb and some honey going in that already, so that's good.
That's a good sign. So this top box is our honey, right? This is our fee.
Yeah.
The bees rent, right?
Yeah. So this very first frame, they've got some comb going on here, so they're working on that outside frame, so they're on their way.
That's good.
And so this one's quite heavy, so it's pretty full.
That's quite full.
Cap it on that side.
And do they usually work from the inside out on this top box?
They do.
Okay.
That's usually where they'll start putting honey, is in the center first. This one's completely full.
Woohoo!
And mostly capped on that side, not completely capped on that side yet.
Okay.
So when you're harvesting honey, you want to make sure that your frames are at least 80% capped. If you pull a frame and extract it that's not capped, then you're running a risk of
we can
too
get
much water in your honey and
sick.
it'll ferment. So now here's something that we sometimes get. It's called bridge comb. So they're building, sometimes when you put new frames in, and this is what you would want to kind of get in there and look at. Another reason to be inspecting a little more often, so if they start doing this, you can scrape it out and make them redo it, which is what we're going to do here.
Okay.
Usually what I do is I'll just scrape it out and leave it out here for the bees to clean up all the honey out of it, put it back in the hive.
And they will. They'll clean it up really nicely. Do I need to worry about robbing if I do this? Is this going to attract some other friends?
But we're not really in that season yet. There's
not
still
quite.
Plenty of stuff out there,
Okay.
so it's not as big of a problem right now.
Okay.
If it's a weak hive, then I would worry about it, but it's not.
This is our strongest hive. And last time we checked this one with you, we actually had to squish the queen, which was shocking for some people, I'm sure. But you can see that it turned out okay. I mean, we've got a full top box here, almost completely full of honey.
And again, we got almost all capped on that side. More bridge comb on this side, the other half of it.
A little bit of cleanup.
If you do that, if you check this a little more often, then you can kind of catch this before they get it full of honey or brood or something, so it doesn't feel as bad. But the honey, they'll bring it back out here. So.
And I put that top box on and then I just left it for a month. I kind of check my hives about once a month, but you can check them more often for sure. I just get
Well,
busy.
especially when you know what you did was nothing wrong with that, but it's when you put brand new frames in,
You got to make sure they're
you just make
spaced
sure
right.
that they don't start doing weird comb, because there's a big space between the two frames until they start building combs. So.
Okay.
You know, but the rest of these look great. So.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
the side's capped, that side's not quite all the way, but it's getting close. So we're on our way here. This is already got probably 60, 70 pounds of honey in it. So
Woohoo! So I'm thinking we'll pull this in a couple weeks.
yeah, I'd probably give them
A month?
unless you want to extract multiple times, or I usually wait until August.
Okay. So
Let
we'll
them fill it and cure it as much as possible, and then unless you're gonna try to do like I used to when I had, well, I still do. When we have farmers market coming up here pretty quick, and sometimes we'll go out and pull one frame out of these center ones that are capped. I can go pull those out, but I've got a lot of hives, and so I can go pull a lot of honey to extract and do an early extraction. When you only have one hive or a couple hives, you may only be able to pull two or three or four frames.
may not be worth
and
it.
The mess is not worth
Yeah.
that. It's better to wait and do it all
Okay.
the time.
So we'll pull this in a month then. We'll be right around the beginning of August.
And if you were here, I'd have you heft this so you know how heavy it is.
We'll just grunt a lot so everyone knows. A lot of grunting. Okay, and you can see got some pretty active bees.
So they'll build a little comb here on the top, and so I usually scrape that off, smoke them a little bit, gets the bees off of it, and you can
Clean all this up. This is just good hive maintenance.
And if you're saving beeswax,
Which I have a container for, but not here at the moment. I put it in the shed.
then
Sorry.
you can. This is stuff you can save along with the cappings you get when you
harvest, yeah.
harvest.
All right, so now we're gonna start our inspection. What are we looking
So I
for?
usually start on this. Oops. Maybe I won't. It's broken.
I have a few that broke that we need to replace.
I usually start in the second frame just because it's easier to get out than that very first frame.
Right,
And then when I pull this out, I go really slow and kind of jiggle it.
which is
And then we want to
great to do.
look here and see what we got going on. We got a nice crown of honey across the top. That'll keep the queen from going up above this. You can see the nectar right up to the brood. So as this starts to hatch out, as they fill that top part, they'll start to backfill, as you've seen here. They filled in a little bit, and will continue to do that. Even in here, they've started putting honey. So
Right.
she won't lay as much in this top box
She'll be more in the
as we
bottom.
get going here.
And this looks like it's
And
a
so,
different stage a little bit.
I want to look. So this is all hatched out, and she's relayed it again. So there's eggs in there all over the place, and some starting to hatch over on this side. I don't know if you can get in there, get the sun in
Might be
there.
able to. Oh yeah, we can see it. We can see a few larvae. Yep, it's hard to
So
see those little eggs,
she's replacing. So this is all hatched out now, and then she's starting to replace it again.
which is great.
And
She's a nice strong queen, so
good pattern where it's here. We got a pretty good pattern. There's a little bit of missing stuff, and then I just set that there and lean it up against the frame. If you have one of those frame rests, that works too, but I just hate hauling it around. So
yeah, I find that's more awkward than just setting it to the side.
again, we got great brood pattern. She's filled this up. She's got the top, so you can see it's hatched out across the top. There's what's left a little bit. She started again in the bottom and filled it up, and it's got brood and eggs and going on. So let's see if we can see her. She happens to be on one of these frames. You don't see her. But, and also the larva right here. You want to look in there and make sure that looks nice and pearly white and wet looking. So that means we don't have a disease going. Those are signs of European foul brood.
Which they found in Davis County this year, I understand.
Actually, European foul brood.
European, okay.
Yeah, American foul brood we
That's
probably
the
never
bad
see,
one.
but they
Okay.
have found some. I got a letter too.
Yeah.
So we can get this.
Yeah, some of these frames are getting old. Sorry, Richard.
Smoke's blowing in the wrong direction. So yeah, we got a good laying queen. She's got good pattern.
And she's a brand new queen, so she should last us a while.
Yeah.
Which is good. We hope. You never know. But now if we see eggs and we can't find her,
so we know we got a queen.
That she's okay.
We're okay.
We're
so
queen right.
We really don't need to spend any more time. I've looked. We got good brood. We've got eggs. We've got larva looks healthy, and that's really all you need to do in a hive. At this point, you don't need to go all the way to the bottom unless you're not seeing any eggs.
Right.
And then you would want to go down and make sure she's not down in the bottom or something going on. Make sure she's not there, and then also look for queen cells.
Okay.
It means she's been either trying to replace her or something happened to her the last time you were in the hive.
So one thing I'm getting questions about is mites.
Oh yes, we got the mites.
So maybe we should do a mite check really quick and show people how to do it. So this is a really important thing to do, and their numbers should not be super high right now if you treat it in the spring. But as we get closer to fall and honey harvest,
So we're going to do
they will definitely jump.
we're going to do a powdered sugar shake roll, or whatever you call it this time.
Okay.
So you need to have a bottle. It can be whatever. This is a plastic one.
It's
Mason
like a-
jars work as well.
yeah.
And then having some 1/8 inch number 8 harbor cloth, which is that means the holes in the screen are 1/8 inch big.
Okay.
That's big enough that the mites will fall through it, but the bees can't get through it. So we're going to put that down here. We're going to take a couple frames of brood here.
And we're looking for nurse bees, or bees that are on the brood, because they're going to be more likely to
mite
have
carriers.
mites. Yeah. Because the mites, their whole life cycle happens with that brood. So that's where they lay eggs. We just,
Take a couple of frames in here.
and how many bees do we need?
We need a half cup, 300 bees, which is about a half a cup of bees.
So a half a cup of bees, which isn't that much.
And this is
I think that's a cup. So if we go half of that.
not many.
So Richard's just gonna put a half a cup of bees in our jar. He's gonna add a little bit of powdered sugar. And we ideally should be doing a mite check about every month, just so we can monitor. So a couple of teaspoons,
Actually, a couple, about
tablespoons, 3 tablespoons.
You want to get enough in there that it
Want to coat the
coats
bees
the
nice.
bees really good. And you want to roll them around.
Get them nice and coated.
Coated.
So we just need regular powdered sugar. If we use anything else, it may not work. And what that does is it's kind of a slick surface, and it makes it so the mites' feet can't grasp onto the bees anymore, onto their bodies.
Here's the grip.
Yeah, and so they fall off, and the bees start cleaning themselves, and that also helps to dislodge them. So we just have to wait a few minutes, and while we wait, we can probably just
Now,
put the hive back
The
together.
other method is an alcohol wash, which it kills the bees. The method doesn't kill the bees, but it's not as accurate because the other method is killing the bees and the mites, and the mites will fall off, so you get a pretty good, almost 100% of the mites coming off the bees.
Right.
Where with this method, you've got to shake them off, and most beekeepers, one of the mistakes young or new beekeepers make here is they're too gentle on the bees, and
You have to be a little tough.
let's put this on here.
We'll just get that hive put back together. So if you were doing the alcohol wash, it's kind of the same process. It's a half a cup of bees. You can use the same jar. You'll use nurse bees again, so you want to get a couple of frames of brood. Make sure you don't have the queen, which Richard did beforehand. He had already checked those frames. You'll just cover them with alcohol, which is very difficult to get right now. I've been to the store trying to find it and I can't get it. So we're gonna do powdered sugar.
So we now have
That's water. You need a little water.
Water in here. So when we shake this out, the water will dissolve the sugar.
And we can see the mites very easily.
Mites.
Just making sure we don't have any residual mites from our last check.
Make it so it's easier to see. White background is better. So again, you shake them around.
Roll them around, let them sit for a few minutes.
And then we're gonna just shake them out. So you have to vigorously shake them.
You have to be pretty tough and you're not gonna hurt them. Just a good shake.
You got to get them off. And once we're done, put a bee in here. So it looks like we got 2, 3.
3 mites. So they're those little,
Maybe 4. Right
maybe
there.
4 little dots.
This right here is a mite, that's a mite, that's a mite, and that's a mite.
So those dark,
It's like 1, 2,
dots.
3, 4, 5.
they're a little bit hard to see. So we are reaching threshold if we've got 5 there. So we need to do something.
Yeah. So 5 is pretty high. So that we're if it were 6, just to make the math easy, you divide that by the number of bees. So there's 300 bees, by the number of hundreds of bees, I should say. So we would divide it by 3. That would be 2 mites per 100, and that's getting to the threshold where we probably ought to do something.
Right.
And
And this hive didn't have as big a break with brood as my other 2 did. My other 2 have tested a couple times and they've been 0. This one, last time we tested it, it was 3, and now we're at 5. So
it's going up.
our population is definitely growing. So summer mite treatment becomes a little tricky because we've got temperature restrictions on some of the things that we can use. Yep, you just put your bees back in.
And, so, that kind of tells us that things are progressing here. We probably got to do something. Summertime is a little harder to, you have limited choices is what you can use. And I think Apivar works still at this temperature range.
Which I have, and I can put some.
But you shouldn't be using those with the honey super
Right.
on.
So I can take the supers off.
The oxalic acid you could do, but even that you're not supposed to do with honey. If you're vaporizing, you shouldn't be doing with honey.
With supers, yeah, honey supers.
You could do a dribble, take off the honey super for a couple days and do the dribble, and then you could put it back on.
Okay.
Anyway, I use the one that's not approved yet for this time of year, the blue shop towel method, but those work really good too for this temperature range.
Okay.
To help knock them down.
One of the great tools you can use is the Honeybee Health Coalition has a mite treatment tool that you can go to. You can put in your temperatures, if you have honey supers,
yeah.
and they'll tell you what treatments are available. So
and there may be a couple of other ones, but anything with Amitraz, which is or any of the miticides, you can't use with honey supers on.
Right.
I don't know about HopGuard and some of those. I can't remember the temperature ranges on those.
I can't remember the temperature ranges off the top of my head.
So
That's why
look it up, and
Honeybee
they'll
Health
give you some
Coalition thing.
options.
Yeah.
So
All right, so we know we need to treat. We're getting close to harvest, and things are looking good in this hive, minus our mite count. So
even though we requeened the hive, it's recovered strongly, and it's put on a good honey crop. That doesn't usually impact us there. So yeah, it's doing really well.
Awesome.
The one thing we probably could do.
Richard's going to take off my entrance reducer. Give him a little more space to go in and out. A little more opportunity to cool the hive off.
And this is important to use again in the fall as we get into August. The honey flow dies substantially, and you'll start to see wasps hanging around trying to get into the hive. And that's an indication that all of the beehives in the area are also having a difficult time finding food, and so they try to start stealing from each other. And so this is when robbing can become a problem. And so I like to put these back in again in the latter part of August. On a hive this big, I would go to the bigger size, but it's a smaller, again, it's something they can defend well.
Right.
And if you've got wasps hanging around trying to get in, you also have bees from other hives that you just don't know they're from another hive because they don't wear a different uniform.
They don't. Their stripes aren't a different color.
But if they're able to succeed in getting in, then they will go tell their sisters about this wonderful hive that they found, and then you'll get a lot of them coming over, and that's when you can have a robbing frenzy. And so if you have a weaker hive, you would want to even reduce it down to the smaller entrance, again, so they can defend themselves and keep the marauders from being able to get in.
Excellent.
So.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. This was fantastic. We so appreciate you coming and doing this. I'm going to give people one more look, hopefully, at these mites so you can see them. They're these dark specks very easily, so you can kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. So thanks everyone for joining us. Sorry we couldn't meet in person again. Hopefully our last one will be in person. Everyone cross your fingers and we'll see you later. Thanks again, Richard.
See you later.
Bye.